All right, what's up, boys? It's day 12 of the order flow bootcamp. This video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about LVN continuation setups. I'm going to show you two bearish LVN continuation setups, and then I'm going to show you two bullish LVN continuation setups. After that, I'm going to go into a little bit how you can use higher time frame profiles and LVNs to create a session plan or trade off of potentially. So let's just get right into the first one. So like I said, I'm going to show you guys bearish. So we're going to start off with two bearish LVN continuation setups. So anytime we really form some sort of value area on the session, if we break out of it, I'm already anticipating an LVN to form, and like that's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. But whenever we're balancing, if we're going to break out, usually it's going to form an LVN. So that's the first piece of the puzzle, obviously, is we need an LVN to form. We sold off from this previous balance on this particular session, where you can see this is the distribution right here on the profile. Sold off and created this LVN right in here. Now that we have it, it's pretty obvious that this is the low volume area. How I would mark this out is I would take it from these lows right here, and you can see the volume drops off right at the 93s, but just looking at the price action too, you can see these lows right here. So I'm going to start it right there, and really I'm going to end it, and I'm going to draw it to this 89 level right here. Now already we can see there's a passive offer sitting here waiting to get filled, and we tried to fill it one time and it looks like they might have reloaded immediately right at these 90s. So you already know what we're looking for here. We're looking for a retracement into this LVN to spot sellers and then take it down to the next key level, which just off of the book map for me right here, it's at 280. These 280s right here. This will be my first target to scale some out and then potentially hold runners to a further target, but that just depends. So I'm gonna let this play out, and if you didn't catch it on that first test, like you could have definitely had the LVN already before that. So clearly after these offers failed to fill up here already, we sold off from it down to these 280s. Now this could actually keep rejecting, and we're gonna see if it does right now, but once again, these offers just filled. I know I had it sped up really fast right there, but we came back into it. These offers refilled and reloaded once again. So it's very obvious that we have sellers defending these prices at the moment. So this is one example of, you can just verify there are passive sellers trying to defend price at this LVN right here. And this in itself can be an entry confirmation 100%. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to wait for aggressive selling to really step in, but that can also skew your risk to reward a little bit. The main idea is to just verify that sellers are still active at these prices. So this offer filling, reloading, filling, reloading again, and filling for 4 different times. This could be an indication in itself, not to mention some aggressive selling actually starting to step in again. So this ends up working out perfectly once again. I don't think we had data. This is a weird time for data. If anything, there could have been a headline on this day. But nonetheless, you have sellers defending these prices where this LVN was formed at. After we got taken out of this initial value that was built on this session, we created this LVN, and sellers were defending prices right at that area of low volume. So this was one example of a bearish continuation setup that would have worked very well. And like I said, once again, just all of this reoffering and filling up here is enough evidence in itself to actually give it a try. The highest probability setup would be waiting for this initial aggressive selling to step in and then possibly getting in short on some sort of retest. This could also lead to you missing the trade in some cases as well, though. So I'm going to say it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, reading order flow is kind of subjective. It's obviously discretional and more of an art form. But if you think about it logically, what we're trying to identify in any LVN is participants remaining active at these prices. That one would have worked out very well just based off this reoffering activity. Like I said, for even more of a higher probability chance, you can wait for aggressive selling to step in, get in on a retest of weaker buying, and then both, no matter the scenario, you're going to end up putting your stop loss above these highs right here at 91. If you took it after this little retest right here, then you can put it above this 90, which it's pretty much in the same spot. But if I was to get in like in the 86s or somewhere around here after this, then you can definitely put your stop loss right above that 290. So that's the first example. It's the same thing every time. This video is going to be very repetitive, but you need the repetition to actually get the neural pathways solidified in your brain. So the second example is going to be a little bit different, but currently, as you can see on the right side, this LVN is beginning to form as we speak. I already have it marked out. I would mark it out right now, and I would put it from where these bids were filled right up here at the 30s, and I would come all the way down to these 24s. So in this area now, it's the same thing. We are looking for signs of sellers defending prices right here for a move lower. So I'm going to play this out, and one thing we're going to watch happen is this delta at the 326s. It just built up to negative 1400 right here. So some people are going to see this and they're going to say, didn't 1400 sellers just get absorbed here at the 326s? And the answer I have to that is with absorption, it doesn't usually occur at a single price. Like whenever there's absorption, it's usually going to be a range of prices or a block of prices. Whenever I see a single delta outlier or a single price with a ton of delta, I am not reading this as absorption. I really don't know what's happening here. Obviously, there's some very significant activity taking place, but the only thing we can really take away from this data is that there was 1,400 lots sold aggressively at these prices. They filled a passive buyer who was not present on the actual heat map at these 26s. So this is obviously some big player activity, and they have tools they use to hide their size and hide their orders. But this is significant activity happening in this area of low volume. So let's just say we took it short off of this activity. Where this setup becomes invalidated officially for any LVN setup is whenever you start building value, or where buyers in this case are going to start accepting these prices previously from roughly the 30-50s up to the 33s would definitely be invalid. But as long as there's not significant volume building in this previous value, technically the LVN is still valid. Usually you don't want to see price trade in this LVN for this long. This is one of those specific setups that it's a little bit different, and we definitely had significant activity inside of it despite trading a little bit higher. But you can see these offers up here at the 330s never get filled, and then we have that aggressive selling start to come in again. So this particular setup is a little bit different, a little bit weird, honestly, but nonetheless, this LVN gets defended by sellers, and you're gonna see it works out for continuation, come back up to it once more, and then we actually get some absorption up here in these 25s. And I actually remember I took this short right here. So if you didn't take it earlier, you could have looked for it again right here. This would have been a nice absorption reversal setup right at the LVN, or where the initial LVN was at. That would have led to a nice continuation setup as well off of that level. Once again, all we are doing when we're looking at an LVN is verifying that sellers are still active at these prices and they're reloading at these prices. So we formed an area of low volume. We came back up into this low volume. We see that sellers are defending these prices. We have this anomalous activity at the 26, sold off from it, come back up into this LVN. Couldn't fill these offers. We had some absorption up here. This right here is just another indication of passive selling, followed by aggressive selling, and then a retest where even more buying gets absorbed, verifying more passive selling. So now it's just clear that sellers are active at these 325s and above. And that is enough confirmation to take that short. So those were two bearish continuation setups. And honestly, I'm going to show you guys one more because this one was a little trickier, and it's good to see the tricky ones, but I can show you a super clean one real quick as well. So I know I said I was going to only show you two, but I'm actually going to show you three, because this one right here is a really good example just to get it in your head. And this actually happened all the way back in December. I know this because I was reviewing the entirety of my data this weekend, and I came across this one that I took in December. And yeah, it's a long time ago, but it is probably one of the cleanest LVN continuation setups I've ever seen in my life. So clearly on the right side of the screen, we have this area of low volume. I'll mark it out for you guys from the 94s, and we'll give it right here to the 90s, the 4590s. I'm just gonna let this play out right here, and you guys will see what I mean, how clean this thing is. So notice how we come right up into this LVN. We have some passive offers sitting here at the 92s. Buyers could not fill these offers right here. Aggressive selling starts stepping in immediately. I would say this is good enough to take it short right here. And if I was short at 91, my stop's going right above 93. So really tight risk on that. And then what you're going to see is this actually plays out immediately for a nice trade if you wanted to target down a low a day, and then potentially even deeper than that. But yeah, this was another super clean example of the bearish LVN continuation setup, where we're just, once again, for the 100th time, verifying that sellers are active at these prices where they aggressively moved price through, and then you can take the trade as soon as you can verify that. So passive selling plus aggressive selling, I'm taking that every time. So now I'll show you two more examples of bullish LVN continuation setups. All right, so for this next setup, we open up at 8:30 Central Time, and we are consolidating right here. We build value right from 74 all the way up roughly to 81 on the low end. And then we get some aggressive buying, some very strong buying that takes us up into the 84s, 87s. We're starting to build some value right here. Clearly, it leaves an area of low volume right there, right? So whenever we pull back into this area of low volume, which I would mark it from this consolidation low around the 84s, and you can mark it all the way down to 79 right here. So this is the area of low volume. So we're just looking for any sign that buyers are active in these prices. So this particular setup is a little bit different in the sense where on this pullback, you can see how weak the volume becomes. Like barely any volume is transacting here. There's specifically like no selling here. So that's a good sign right there. And then as soon as you see some larger aggressive buying, that's when you can take the trade. And yeah, you probably would have gotten an entry a little bit later, maybe at the 84s right there, but stop loss is going to go right below this low. We are speculating that this is going to be low for this continuation move. That would be right at 82. So let's just say you took it after seeing some aggressive buyers right here, stop loss like 2 points below your entry, and targets would be passive orders above or key levels above. And you can see that one worked out immediately in literally like 3-4 minutes. And we're off to the races. This 6100 order is a great target. I would have offered you almost a 15-point reward on like a 3-point risk. That was a really clean one right there from June. So I'll show you one more from the 18th, and we'll watch this one form together sped up. So basically we have this value, right? So clearly we're balanced in these prices from, call it the 35s up to the 45s. So what we're doing is we're waiting for a breakout of this area where prices were deemed to be fair by both buyers and sellers. And then that leaves us with an area of low volume. We wait for some consolidation to happen where we build a little bit of value, like right now. See how we've built some more value up here, and that has left us with an area of low volume from the 43s to the 52s. And then once again, we're waiting to see, are buyers going to defend these prices? How can we verify this? Passive buying and aggressive buying, or weaker selling and aggressive buying. That's basically the two main ways I verify all of these trades. So right here where this 60-50 offer was at, we now have passive bids starting to come in. So really we're just waiting to see if we fill these bids at all, but what happens after we fill these bids is the most important part. So we fill some right there. We get some aggressive buying coming in. At this point, I can say this is enough to take it long. Put your stop loss right below 48, and we'll see if this works out. So this was another one that worked out right away, and most of them are going to work out right away. So if they don't work out right away, they're most likely not going to work out at all. Long right here, stop loss below this low where we put in at 48. Say you get in long after you get this larger aggressive buying right at the 60-50s. That's like a 2-3 point stop once again. Targeting first, I would definitely say these 660s is a good first target. But beyond that, beyond that could be key levels, or you could wait for some offers to come in 665 offers come in. This is also a good place to scale some out. So those are some more examples of LVN continuation setups. Just to give you guys some more insight, and if you think about it critically, what is happening in an LVN is we are in an area of balance, or we are trading where prices are deemed to be fair. So it's obviously going to be some sort of consolidation where value builds. The profile looks like a letter D. Whenever we break out of that value on very aggressive activity, it's going to form an area where less volume was traded because of how aggressive this move was, right? And this can be, and what I'm saying right now can be applied to the short side as well, just flip it in reverse. So we now have an area of low volume where prices are deemed to be unfair. Whenever we start trading in these unfair prices, we should see buyers in this case step in and start buying this up, which they do in this case passively, and then after that aggressively as well. And that is basically what we're looking for. We're just looking for participants to reload and defend the LVN. So the confirmations can be a little bit more subjective, a little bit more of an art form reading it, but just think about it in terms of you want to spot buying or selling in the LVN where prices were deemed to be unfair. The spot buying or selling, you can do that by seeing passive buying and aggressive buying. It's obviously strong buying when you combine them. Or you could see weaker selling or weaker buying on the retracement into the LVN, followed by aggressive or passive and aggressive buying. So that's pretty much the main gist of these LVN continuation setups. Now, obviously, all of those examples are formed intraday. So these are not LVNs that I've picked out from the higher time frame profile or the previous profiles. These are obviously formed intraday on the RTH profile for all of these examples. So now real quick, what I'm going to show you guys is how you can use in a different way that it's still the same idea, but it's a little bit different at the same time. So I'm going to remove this profile right here. I'm going to put this chart on a 30-minute. This is literally what today's price action looks like. Let me shrink myself a little more. Now, let me tell you guys my plan from today. It's Monday, September 8th, and I didn't take any trades today, but let me just show you guys how I came up with a plan for this particular day. You can see this box right here already says LVN, but what I did was I came over here, I grabbed the fixed range volume profile, I put it right here at this high, and then I dragged it all the way to the session open. All right, so for some reason, this profile is only going up to like real time. But basically before the session, this box I had right here was an area of low volume. So what I planned for on this particular session was I wanted to see sellers appear from 508 up to 524 for a continuation of this move that we got on Friday. So initially we sold off from this after the open right off the 508s, and then we came back up into here, and now we're selling off from it. So this is another version of an LVN continuation setup, but it's obviously different in the fact that the LVN is not from like the session that I'm trading. So how I'll use these is I'll say, all right, if buyers reclaim this LVN, I would expect to move up to this 35, 36 supply level up to the 42s, and then that could be where I look for sellers once again, or if this breaks and then retest for more all-time highs. But basically, I'm using LVNs as a place for a rejection or for prices to trade through them and buyers to accept higher prices or sellers to accept lower prices. Same thing to the downside. This formed a little bit more intraday where we built up value right here. But if I just draw this LVN like this, you can see that we clearly bounced off of these. You can see we clearly bounced off of this lower LVN right here for a continuation of this weekend slash overnight, if you even want to consider it that, move up to this one. So that's another way that you can use LVNs. And this is basically what I do if I don't have any supplier demand levels immediately near me, or even if I do, I'll still mark out LVNs and just see what it looks like before the session to create a plan off of it. But this would still be considered like an LVN continuation setup. It's just that in these prices, it's probably going to end up being like an absorption reversal confirmation inside of an LVN continuation setup. I know that gets a little confusing, but once again, it goes back to my main point that I keep saying to you guys, where in any LVN, you're just looking for the same participants who created it to essentially reload and defend these prices. So like, since this LVN was created by sellers, now I'm looking for sellers to defend these prices where they considered them unfair to begin with. So if you guys are liking this bootcamp, you're getting value out of it, please subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, obviously. Discord is in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.